Today we're looking at Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 16, text 23 through 17:10. We can read this together. Ya Shastra Vidham Utshrija Vartate Kama Karata Nasa Siddhim Avapnoti Nasukham Na Param Gatim. Translation. But he who discards scriptural injunctions and acts according to his own whims attains neither perfection nor happiness nor the supreme destination. What is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. Chapter 17, text 1. Arjuna uvacha ye shastra vidhim utsrijya yajante shradhayan vitaha tesham nishta tukha krishna sattvam aho rajas tamaha. Translation. Arjuna said, O Krishna, what is the situation of one who does not follow the principles of scripture, but worships according to his own imagination? Is he in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance? Text 2. Shri Bhagavan uvacha trividha bhavati shraddha dehinam sasva bhavaja satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi cheti tam shrinu. Translation. The Supreme Lord said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of three kinds: goodness, passion, or ignorance. Now hear about these. Text 3. Sattva nurupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharata shraddhayamoyam purusho yoyach shraddha se eva saha. Translation. According to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Text 4. Yajante sattvika devan yaksha raksham sirajasa pretan bhuta ganamschanye yajante tamasa janaha. Translation. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons. And those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Text 5 through 6. Ashastra vihitam goram tapyanti ye tapo janaha dambhankara samyukta kamaraga balan vitaha karshayanta sharirastam bhutagramam icetasaha mam chaivanta shariyastam tan vidyasura nishchayan. Translation. Those who undergo severe austerities and penances not recommended in the scriptures, performing them out of pride, egotism, lust, and attachment, who are impelled by passion, and who torture their bodily organs as well as the supersoul dwelling within, are to be known as demons. Text 7. Aharas dvapi sarvasya trividho bhavati priya Yajñas tapas tata danam tesham bedam imam shrinu. Translation. Even food of which all partake is of three kinds, according to the three modes of material nature. The same is true of sacrifices, austerities, and charity. Listen, and I shall tell you of the distinctions of these. Text 8 through 10. Ayu sattva bala rogya sukha priti vivardhana rasya snigdha stira hridya ahara sattvika priya katvam lavantushna tikshna ruksha vidhahina ahara rajasasyashta dukkha yogamaya prada Yatayamam gatarasam puti paryushitam chayat uchistam api chamedhyam bhojanam tamasa priyam. Translation. Foods in the mode of goodness increase the duration of life, purify one's existence, and give strength, health, happiness, and satisfaction. Such nourishing foods are sweet, juicy, fattening, and palatable. Foods that are too bitter, too sour, salty, pungent, dry, and hot are liked by people in the modes of passion. Such foods cause pain, distress, and disease. Food cooked more than 3 hours before being eaten, which is tasteless, stale, putrid, decomposed, and unclean, is food liked by people in the mode of ignorance. And back to text 23, I'd actually like to start with text 24 and read translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder, Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Text 24. One should understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated. I'm going to start with the last paragraph here. In human society, aversion to the principles of understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all fall downs. That is the greatest offense of human life. Therefore, Maya, the material energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is always giving us trouble in the shape of the threefold miseries. This material energy is constituted of the three modes of material nature. One has to raise himself at least to the mode of goodness before the path to understanding the Supreme Lord can be opened. Without raising oneself to the standard of the mode of goodness, one remains in ignorance and passion, which are the cause of demoniac life. Those in the modes of passion and ignorance deride the scriptures, deride the holy man, and deride the proper understanding of the spiritual master, and they do not care for the regulations of the scriptures. In spite of hearing the glories of devotional service, they are not attracted. Thus, they manufacture their own way of elevation. These are some of the defects of human society, which lead to the demoniac status of life. If, however, one is able to be guided by a proper and bona fide spiritual master who can lead one to the path of elevation to the higher stage, then one's life becomes successful. So there's demoniac people out there, most of the world actually, and they're thinking this world is born of lust, and that the ultimate goal is sense gratification, selfish sense gratification. And we're being shown that no, it's through Shastra that one can become perfected, Guru Sadhu Shastra, and that faith, the heart. Srila Prabhupada mentions later in a purport that the heart is a sign of faith. If your heart is in the mode of goodness, your faith is in the mode of goodness. If your heart is in the mode of passion, then your faith is in the mode of passion. And if your heart is in the mode of ignorance, your faith is in the mode of ignorance. And so proper understanding through the instructions of the guru is critical, and Shastra is so important. And that's what most of the world doesn't have is knowledge of the power of the Shastra, the Vedic Shastra, the rules and regulations. This isn't just opinions that are being given here. It's actually the way. It's not up for speculation. And when Krishna says that here are the foods that are in the mode of goodness, and here's the modes of charity that are in the mode of goodness. Here's austerity in the mode of goodness. These are not opinions. These are actual Shastra. This is actual proven knowledge. If we want our lives to be easier and perfected, if we don't want to struggle, if we don't want to put ourselves through so much pain, it's a simple process of simply following the Shastra. It's when we go against it that we get reminded, oh, I try to do it my own way. That doesn't work. And I feel like, food is being stressed here so much in these verses, food and the mode of, and he says you can actually tell what mode people are in based on the foodstuffs that they're eating. And it makes sense, that most of the world is eating these foul and putrid foods and untouchable foods like meat and things like that. Not to what to speak of cow flesh and so it makes sense. It explains why the world is in ignorance, and mostly ignorance and passion, and we have all struggled. That's one of the reasons we came here, is we've struggled with food as well. We've all tried to dial in our own diet, and we know that it affects us, how we feel, so importantly on such a big degree. And so many people that have come to this movement are a part of it is food, and knowing that what I eat affects how I feel the next day and the next week, and what is the perfect diet, and what does that look like, and what is my relationship with food, and trying to dial in the quantities and the things that work for us. In ISKCON, we eat purely vegetarian diet, which is no fish, meat, or eggs. And we also abstain from these certain foods that are in the mode of darkness, like onions and garlic, that aren't beneficial for a sattvic diet. People who are that are celibate, and we're all trying to live that celibate life. And whether we're grihasta or brahmachari, we are all trying to elevate ourselves and be the best that we can. And so many people in the world are just thinking about today. Well, let me eat this today, and the diet can start tomorrow, as we often hear the diet. And so Lord Shri Krishna is teaching us, yes, do live for the day. Yes, do take advantage of the day and seize the day, but also think about tomorrow. Think about everyone that you're affecting by what you do. Think about tomorrow. Think about next week. Think about, a year from now. And so even though we're not guaranteed this time, we still think about tomorrow. How do I want to feel tomorrow? I should eat today in a way that's going to make me feel good tomorrow, so I can serve Sri Krishna in a optimistic, in a good way, in a very healthy feeling. If our bodies are feeling healthy and energized, we're gonna be able to do our duty for Krishna on a higher level, like an athlete. An athlete is very careful about what goes in, because they know they're going to be performing. And so we're thinking like that. We're thinking like we're Krishna's athletes, or wannabe athletes. I want to be on the team, coach. And you see people. You drive around. I was driving around a little bit today, and you see so many things that are trying to pull you in and trying to pull your money. And you see gas stations, which are really just these dressed up snack shops that have alcohol and gambling and unhealthy snacks. And you see so many billboards with pictures of not so nice things. And you see insurance shops, and you see people walking around, and all these businesses and billboards. They're trying to extract your money extract people's money with as little money spent by them as possible. So even a car wash, they're trying to get as many people in the door, and then trying to spend as little money to give the customer what they want, and trying to extract the most out of the customer they can. And that's what's going on in society, is so much of this usury and strategizing about how can I be the king of my domain. I want the nicest lawn on the block. I want the nicest, greenest lawn on the block. And even if I don't feel completely successful, as long as my neighbors and my friends and family think I am, then that's okay. Because if they can't have this complete success that they're after, they are okay with at least the illusion, presenting the illusion of success. And that's one of the reasons Sri Chaitanya said, Cheto Darpanam Marjanam, this chanting, it cleanses the mirror of the heart. And part of that is this funhouse mirror, upside down reflection of what success is. And you see people walking around. So many people are walking around. They just went to the gas station and they got their big sugary drink and they're holding it like it's a trophy, and they're just, and the diet starts tomorrow. And even some people are big and they feel like they've lost. They feel like, gosh, I lost the battle and I'm just going to eat whatever I want because look at where I'm at. But if they just took a few months, a year, a couple years, even the biggest person could do so much in a year or 2 years, but they're not willing to put in a year or 2 years. And the people that are devoted to Krishna, they're willing to put in the time. They're saying, yes, I've got a lot of clutter on my heart. I'm willing to put in a year, 2 years, my whole life into getting on track. And I want to learn what it's like to get on track and never get off track. And so it takes time, for an obese person, it's going to take many weeks and months of dedication. And then once they get to the goal, even, they're going to have to keep up that dedication. But that's Krishna's teaching us partially through food. You can tell that food is a big way that he's imparting a lot of lessons onto us, is through the food knowledge and what foods are acceptable. Offer me with love and devotion a fruit, flower, leaf, water. He's recommending vegetarian foodstuffs, and no living entity really has to suffer because of that, because of these vegetarian foodstuffs. And Srila Prabhupada in a purport says, gosh, he says, milk is the highest, the most wonderful of all foods. And it really is, because, it's, he says, the civilized method of obtaining needed fat is by milk. Slaughter is the way of subhumans. Protein is amply available through split peas, dal, and whole wheat. So milk is the way to do it. We need some animal fat, and we can get it through milk, and it can actually even help the finer tissues of the brain, for your memory and things like that. But people are wondering why people are eating meat and so many bad things and liquor, and they're wondering why they don't feel so good. And then their medicine is more of the same poison, and it's a spiral. It's a downward spiral. So, but Srila Prabhupada says milk is the most wonderful of all foods. You can cook so many things when you have the milk, and the milk is not hurting the cow, because only 5% is needed by the mother cow to give to the young calves. So milk is a gift from Krishna. It's a gift from God. And so we are instructed to take as much as we need and is available. And I'd like to point out one plate here. It's plate 40. Plate 40 here. And it says there are three kinds of faith: that in the mode of goodness, that in passion, and that in ignorance. So you see at the top, you have three different worshipers. One is worshiping the sun god Vivishvan, one is worshiping Brahma, and one is worshiping Shiva. And then down the second, third, you see someone worshiping a normal person. And then in the bottom left, you see someone worshiping the ghosts and spirits. And then in the bottom right, someone worshiping at the tomb of someone. So, so there's different kinds of worship, and goodness, passion, or ignorance. 16. And then also about 16, let me find it. Going back to 1623, Lord Sri Krishna declares that the ultimate difference between the divine and the demonic and it is said, one who lives whimsically attains neither perfection nor happiness. And I love what Srila Prabhupada says about this should be done, but still he does not do it. Therefore, he is called whimsical. So whimsical in our mind might have had more of a whimsical definition, pardon the pun, at some point, but whimsical is given a more serious definition here. It's a very serious thing to act whimsically. Such persons are destined to be condemned by the Supreme Lord. Such persons cannot have the perfection which is meant for the human life. The human life is especially meant for purifying one's existence, and one who does not follow the rules and regulations cannot purify himself, nor can he attain the real stage of happiness. So the human life is meant for purifying one's existence, day after day, more and more pure. And if you have a setback, if you eat maybe too much food or some food you didn't want to eat, Krishna gives you another chance. He gives you another day, and he says, okay, I give you a new day. You start over from scratch, and you try to live in a way that you act like you do care about tomorrow and how you're going to feel tomorrow. Text 24, instead of being controlled by lust, anger, and greed, one should act in accordance with Shastra. And I saw an ant recently. I was outside. I was kind of watching this ant for a few minutes as I was sitting down chanting in the sunlight yesterday. I saw this little ant, and he was carrying this kind of a long green floppy bug. I couldn't quite tell what it was, but it was bigger than the size of the ant. And, it must weigh so much for the ant. And they probably chose the best ant for that job. Every ant has special qualities. And so this was the ant that's moving the big objects, moving big things. And if you're the size of an ant, all the grass and everything, it's like big hills and mountains all around you. And it was so neat to watch over just 5 or 10 minutes. This ant probably made it about a yard or 3 feet. And it would drag and drag this bug, and then sometimes it couldn't drag it anymore, and it would go on top of a blade of grass, and it would survey the situation and kind of look all around, and it would plot out the best course. Undoubtedly, Super Soul is in its heart and helping guide this ant but it's very determined and it's moving something so big. Imagine if you were to move a horse, the body of a horse, a big horse, about 100 yards. It's like a football field. And imagine it wasn't just dragging this horse by yourself. And by the way, a lot of times it was dragging the bug with just his back foot. It's just like one. So imagine just one arm and you're dragging a horse about 100 yards, very heavy horse, but not just on a football field. You've got ups and downs and trees and so many things. But the determination of this ant was amazing, because it just kept going. And it had probably been doing that for maybe all day or maybe several days. It had been working on this one bug. Shri Shri Gornitai Ki Jai. But we can be, if an ant can move something like that, almost like moving mountains, then we can act in accordance to Shastra, then we can overcome our small impediments and our small struggles, because this ant is willing to go for probably 10 hours or more a day and just struggling, but it knows it's going to please, the rest of the ants, and ultimately Super Soul is guiding it to do its work. And so if it can do so much, if it can struggle for so long, then what to speak of our small little struggles that we confront every day? And they're not actually so big, are they, anymore? It's Krishna's not asking us to move mountains, and we're not being tortured. This is not torture. Everyone in the world is being given obstacles to help elevate them. And so our lives are mostly very nice and simple. And so just let's keep that in mind. Individuals are doing things sometimes because of culture. People in my culture do this, or 2, tradition. We have always done it. Or 3, mood. It feels good now to make this decision, even if I regret it tomorrow. Or even by reason, it seems logical. And advertisements and marketers are going after us and playing on these things in a very targeted, in a very weaponized way, that they go after as they use certain things like bandwagon. And we can actually use some of these same techniques to bring people into the movement, but they use bandwagon, and they use so many other things and tricks. And I just feel sorry for these people that are watching so much TV and the advertisements they're being bombarded with, and the subtle ways of thinking that they're being bombarded with. And it's hard enough, not having, we've eliminated most advertisements from our life, hopefully, and things like that, except for billboards are ones that we have to kind of sit through just to listen to our Shastric YouTube video that we're trying to listen to. But these targeting, these ads are so powerful and weaponized that you feel sorry for people that are exposing themselves to that all day and every day. Text 17.1, Arjuna said, "O Krishna, what is the situation of one who does not follow the principles of scripture, but worships according to his own imagination? Is he in goodness, in passion, or in ignorance?" Lord Shri Krishna says that one who doesn't follow Shastra worships according to the faith dictated by his acquired modes of material nature. So the faith, most people's faith is being dictated by their acquired modes of material nature. And obviously, person isn't completely under one mode, exclusively. You can't say if someone is exclusively under just the mode of of passion, but the modes are like three colors almost, who, when they're combined, the three modes can easily make 9 colors, and those 9 colors can easily make 81 colors. So there's so many shades and subtleties in the three modes of nature. But he says there's 3 types of faith corresponding and evolving from 3 modes of nature. Devotion to Lord Sri Krishna is nirguna. It's above, it's transcendental to the modes. Srila Baladev Vijayabhushana says texts 2 through 4 describe those who have given up Shastra out of laziness or because it was troublesome for them. So 2 through 4, laziness or trouble. Let's read just those translations. The Supreme Lord said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of 3 kinds, goodness, passion, or ignorance. Now hear about these. According to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Men in the mode of goodness worship the demigods. Those in the mode of passion worship the demons, and those in the mode of ignorance worship ghosts and spirits. Now, going on to text 2, purport. The Supreme Lord said, according to the modes of nature acquired by the embodied soul, one's faith can be of 3 kinds, goodness, passion, or ignorance. Now hear about these. Purport. Those who know the rules and regulations of the scriptures, but out of laziness or indolence, give up following these rules and regulations, are governed by the modes of material nature. According to their previous activities in the modes of goodness, passion, or ignorance, they acquire a nature which is of a specific quality. The association of the living entity with the different modes of nature has been going on perpetually since the living entity is in contact with material nature. Thus, he acquires different types of mentality according to his association with the material modes. But this nature can be changed if one associates with a bona fide spiritual master and abides by his rules and the scriptures. Gradually, one can change his position from ignorance to goodness, or from passion to goodness. The conclusion is that blind faith in a particular mode of nature cannot help a person become elevated to the perfectional stage. One has to consider things carefully with intelligence in the association of a bona fide spiritual master. Thus, one can change his position to a higher mode of nature. Like it is said, Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. Just try to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. Render service, inquire from him submissively, and render service unto him. The self-realized soul can impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. And speaking of the 3 modes of material nature, there's a nice list given in Vedic paradigm that charts out a lot of these. And Vedic paradigm, for those who don't know, is a book by His Holiness Dhanavir Goswami Maharaj. And he took so much of what he took so much of Prabhupada's teachings, and over in certain books, he's condensed it and made it very nice and charted it out. So this is in Vedic paradigm, and starting with charity, charity in the mode of ignorance is in an impure place at an improper time to an unworthy person without proper attention and respect. In the mode of passion, charity is with expectation of return, with desire for fruitive results, in a grudging mood. But charity in the mode of goodness is given out of duty without expectation of return at the proper time and place, and to a worthy person. Regarding austerity, performing austerity in the mode of ignorance, performed out of foolishness with self-torture and to destroy others. Austerity in the mode of passion for the sake of gaining respect, honor, and worship. It is neither stable nor permanent. Austerity in the mode of goodness is with transcendental faith and not expecting benefits and only for the sake of the Supreme. Om Tat Sat. Om Tat Sat. So both of these are without without expecting benefits or results is a big part of the mode of goodness. Sacrifice in the mode of ignorance, without regard for directions of scripture, without distribution of prasad, without chanting Vedic hymns, and without remunerations to priests. Sacrifice in the mode of passion for material benefit and for the sake of pride. Sacrifice in the mode of goodness as a matter of duty under direction of scripture. Those who desire no reward. And then finally, I will list, there's many more categories, but I will just list food as well. And the mode of ignorance, prepared more than 3 hours before being eaten, tasteless, decomposed, putrid, remnants, untouchable things, unclean, and causes distress. Food in the mode of passion is bitter, sour, salty, hot, pungent, dry, burning, causes distress, causes misery, causes disease, gives immediate pleasure to the senses. Food in the mode of goodness gives strength, purifies one's existence, gives health, gives happiness, gives satisfaction, juicy, fatty, wholesome, pleasing to the heart, easily obtained. So, yeah, food, can cause distress. It can cause misery. There was a boon that was given to some where they don't have to eat. They no longer feel hunger or have to eat, is a boon that's been given. But imagine even your favorite food, it becomes distressful past a certain amount once your hunger is satiated. Maharaj once gave the example of, you love this ice cream and you buy it, you're willing to spend $10 and buy this ice cream and you enjoy it. And then someone says, hey, I'll give you another ice cream for free, and like that, it becomes easier to obtain, but also over time, as the ice cream is being eaten, it becomes torturous. And eventually the person says, I'll give you $100 to eat, this bowl of ice cream. And you just say, no, I can't do it. This is torture. And so food can be so nice, but in moderation. Everything, this book, is speaking so much about balance and moderation and listening to that inner voice that's saying, all right, you had enough. That's probably enough. That's something we're trying to learn. Text 3. According to one's existence under the various modes of nature, one evolves a particular kind of faith. The living being is said to be of a particular faith according to the modes he has acquired. Purport. Everyone has a particular type of faith, regardless of what he is, but his faith is considered good, passionate, or ignorant, according to the nature he has acquired. Thus, according to his particular type of faith, one associates with certain persons. Now, the real fact is that every living being, as is stated in the 15th chapter, is originally the fragmental part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one is originally transcendental to all the modes of material nature. But when one forgets his relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and comes into contact with the material nature and conditional life, he generates his own position by association with the different varieties of material nature. The resultant artificial faith and existence are only material. Although one may be conducted by some impression or some conception of life, still originally he is nirguna or transcendental. Therefore, one has to become cleansed of the material contamination that he has acquired in order to regain his relationship with the Supreme Lord. That is the only path back without fear, Krishna consciousness. If one is situated in Krishna consciousness, then that path is guaranteed for his elevation to the perfectional stage. If one does not take to this path of self-realization, then he is surely to be conducted by the influence of the modes of nature. And in the 3rd chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that if one does not offer his food to the Supreme, one is eating only sin. And so offering your foodstuffs, sacrificing your foodstuffs is very important, because people are just eating more and more sin if they aren't doing that. And without fear is very important. That is the only path back, without fear. And we don't want to struggle, whether we're doing some preaching out on the street, or trying to distribute some books. We know that that we have to pass something on. Someone is looking at us and saying, is this person happy? So we have to be authentic with ourselves, but also it's going to be hard to pass on Krishna consciousness if someone sees that I'm struggling so much. So there are challenges, chanting at least 16 rounds a day, is a challenge, but I want to make sure that I don't struggle with it every day. I want to get past the point of struggle, because it's hard to pass something on sometimes if one is struggling. And so we have to make it look easy, even though it's not always easy. We have to realize how good we have it. And we're the lucky ones that get to chant the Maha Mantra every day. It's really the best thing that ever happened to us. And so we have to remember that and give it priority, early in the morning, and have a system, at least do it methodically. Hopefully we're chanting all of our rounds as early as possible, but just having methodology and planning out my day the day before and sticking to my plan is so important. And sometimes at night before bed, one can plan out one's day, or even plan out the whole week, and become very scheduled and very regulated, and because we know how long it takes us to chant our rounds. And so we put that in our write it down. That's my time. That's the time I chant. And this is the time I do laundry. And if we can become regulated and scheduled like that, life isn't so chaotic, and we're going to be on a higher platform, and where it's easier to pass on Krishna consciousness. And these were just a few thoughts I had about that. But I think that's about all the time we have. But yes, we have a question or a comment from Jagannath Prabhu. Okay.
Hare Krishna. I just wanted to say that this was a very nice class. You made a lot of really nice points. Chanting our 16 rounds, working on our eating habits, and the allurement of the material world to us Jiva souls was all very nice. But I do want to make a comment on what you were talking about the food that we eat, and how it's so important that we eat only offered food, and drink only offered liquids. So I'll just say what I read. So it says the practice of reduced eating is automatically done when one eats only Krishna prasadam, or food which is offered first to the Lord. Reducing the eating process is very helpful in the matter of sense control, and without sense control, There is no possibility of getting out of the material entanglement. So this was like a huge, like, boom.
Yeah.
Because I've always struggled with food since I was a kid. I'd eat a whole box of Twinkies, by myself.
Yeah.
By myself, man. It was crazy. But so this was like a real eye opener for me, because I was like, man, I think I finally found the answer to not overeating. And literally, I have personal realization of this, because we have like a 5-gallon jug upstairs, and I've been offering that every time I fill it up. And literally every time that it takes a while. It takes a bottle or so to fill me up. But like the prasadam is like, it fills you up. And it also, like you were saying about the fine brain tissue when we drink hot milk, we also get the same effect when we drink prasadam water, any kind of prasadam. It builds our finer brain tissue. So we're able to understand the philosophy a little bit better, and we're able to be more enthusiastic about our services, and we're able to be more enthusiastic about hearing and chanting, chanting our rounds correctly, and hearing from the scriptures. It's really nice. So this is just one of the realizations that I've had about this eating only prasadam. And basically, Prabhupada said, I have no devotion, I have no knowledge, but I have firm faith in the holy name. I have firm faith in prasadam. So I think that's good enough. So thank you, Prabhu.
Jai, thank you for that. Thank you for those thoughts. And but yeah, it's obvious with what you read that food can be a gateway to higher elevation if we can control our relationship with food a little bit. That's kind of an austerity, and it's about delayed gratification. It's like, I'm not just going to indulge all hours of the day. It's also battling time. I feel like sometimes I'm not battling food, I'm battling time a little bit. And it's just like, if I can just, wait, 4 hours or whatever, then it's okay. But having the regulation is so important. So thank you all very much. Bhagavad Gita as it is. Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada Ki.